hearts of every free man. If you look at the surface, you will see a sad tragedy and a dire image of slaughtering and captivity of men, women, and children. But if you take the time and sensibly analyze it, you will realize that what you see is an entire school of virtue that delivers its honorable values through the sacrifices of noble people. Some of you, or maybe all of you, might already know what I'm talking about. It's the Battle of Karbala, a tragedy that happened almost 1400 years ago, yet still lives in our hearts until this day. Karbala is a vast ocean that cannot be explored in its entirety in a matter of 10 minutes. So I'll take a drop of that ocean and share it with you all. What I want to do is to direct your eyes to a specific perspective of Karbala. One of the drives of the revolution of Karbala, which was stated by Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, is to reform society from the corruption that has spread when a character such as Yazid steps into power. Tonight, we will learn a valuable lesson of Ashura that no one could deliver to us but Imam Hussein. We will understand one dimension of the revolution of Karbala. But first, we'll have to evaluate the two sides of the story. We have Yazid's side and the characteristics of his government, which led society to corruption. And we have the second side, which is Imam Hussein's side, and the values he exemplified in the face of injustice. Moving on to the first side, there were several characteristics in Yazid that made him the bad person he was. Please be aware, I'm not saying that Yazid is not a human, but as they are good human, they are bad humans too. And certain criteria must be available in a person to be eligible for ruling over people. One of the most important ingredients that must be available in a government is justice. Without justice, there would be no government. No matter how hard an unfair one tries to survive, at the end it will disappear. This has happened so many times in the past that history is filled with too many examples to mention. Some of you, or maybe some people, think that justice starts from the government itself. Well, it's not true. It starts from the hearts of people themselves. If people consider justice in everything they do and everything they believe in, they wouldn't allow injustice to spread, let alone allowing an unfair person to rule over them. Now let's go to Yazid and see if he was a fair king to his people. Let's see if he believed in justice. We all agree that one of the most important civil systems in any country is the legal system. At the time, when Yazid was a ruler, a governor of a state is also considered the judge on that state. He can settle disputes between people. If a corrupted governor takes over court, it means that the standards for delivering justice no longer exist. Just because a person is associated with Imam Hussein or is not loyal enough to Yazid is enough to send him to the depths of prison or maybe execution. One example we have from history is what happened to Hani ibn Arwa, who was also a companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when all he did was hosting in his house Muslim ibn Aqil, Imam Hussein's cousins, and his messenger to Iraq. Hani ibn Arwa was around 90 years old. He was very old. Yet that didn't stop Yazid, governor, from sentencing him along with his guest Muslim to immediate execution and dragging both their bodies around the city. Was that fair? No, it was not. It was just a way, one of the methods used to silence the voice of justice. The greed of Yazid and the injustice of him and his governor led society to corruption. You know what Yazid said to his governor when he heard about Hani ibn Urwa and Muslim ibn Aqil? He said to him, well done. People lived in fear from Yazid to the degree where they started accepting his wrongdoings. Now enough with Yazid. Let's move to the other side of the story, which is Imam Hussein's side, peace be upon him. Quite honestly, it's very hard to talk about a man like Imam Hussein, because whenever you talk about him, you feel like you are falling short from giving that great character the attention it deserves. Imam Hussein was generous beyond generosity. He was generous to everyone, including his enemies. Although he was the son of the Prophet, the founder of the Islamic Empire, he was humble to everyone. He treated people equally. You know what happened with the story of Al-Hur bin Yazid, who was a commander in Yazid's army against Imam Hussein. He was sent to stop Imam Hussein from going to Iraq with 1,000 men. They got lost in the desert. They suffered from thirst. When Imam Hussein met them in the desert, they were about to die. Imagine nowadays if one finds his enemy in a weak state, most of us will eliminate that enemy. You have the chance. Your enemy is weak. Why not just kill him and get rid of him? Well, Imam Hussein did not do that, because he believed that people are all equal. He gave water to them, even the horses. And one of those enemies, or maybe more than one of them, fought against him in Karbala. They participated in killing him. All of that because Imam Hussein believed, he had a strong belief for justice. When he saw that people's rights and people's lives are being devalued by Yazid, he couldn't just sit down. He had to do something about it. On the way up to Iraq, when Imam Hussein left Medina to Iraq, he said to his companions, have you not noticed that the good is being ignored and that evil is not being forbidden? Imam Hussein chose death over living under a tyrant. In the day of Ashura, he said to his companions, the enemy gave us only two choices, death or humiliation. And imagine what the choice Imam Hussein chose. He chose death over the humiliation. That's the lesson we learn from Imam Hussein. We should treat people equally. We should start justice from our hearts. Nowadays, if you see someone who's dealing with a janitor, for example, he has to treat that man as a human, not as a janitor. One story I remember was, I was coming back from work, driving my car. I saw one of the janitors on the road, and so that janitor was just walking on the side of the road. What I saw was someone driving his car. He went out of his way and he hit that janitor and ran away. Is that justice? No. The lesson we learn from Imam Hussein is justice. We should never bow down for a tyrant. Never accept injustice. Don't say it doesn't concern me. If you let justice in your heart and in your community, you're allowing tyranny to spread. And for that lesson, which I learned from Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, I pledge to be fair to all people and to stand in the face of injustice with courage and strength. Thank you for allowing me to speak up. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.